Speaking of setting the bar high, that's not something we do with the Cleveland Browns. Let's set the bar a little bit lower and let's
How
talk.
low?
Well, I don't know. We'll see. That's up for interpretation.
Okay.
But here are the Browns draft picks for this 2025 season. They have 10 picks right now as of today. Now, if there's any other trades, maybe that you add some more, or maybe you combine like a 3-for-1 type thing and you move up a little bit. But right now they have the round 1 pick, number 2 overall. They have the first pick of the second round, which is number 33. They have 2 third-round picks, their own, which is number 67, and then the pick from Buffalo, which they got from the Amari Cooper trade, and then round 4, pick number 104. So 5 picks within the first 104 picks. That's pretty good. You could get a wealth of talent from that haul. I think the Browns have to hit minimum on 3 of those 5 picks. You need 3 starters, if not 4 starters out of that group. Now, if you get a quarterback, I don't know if that's going to end up being a guy that starts right away, a developmental guy, whatever it might be, but you need to get several starters out of those first picks, and hopefully maybe even like a later round pick guy hits. So no one's expecting anybody in the draft to go 100% with their picks, but hopefully the Browns are able to hit on the majority of their picks this year. If we look at the 2025 draft, now every team owns their own pick this year, which is very rare, at least in the first round. So you look at the top 10 there, and overall where the teams are slated. The Browns went out to Colorado, and the Browns obviously are picking number 2. 2 of the top prospects in this draft are Travis Hunter, the wide receiver, defensive back out of Colorado, the Heisman Trophy winner, and the quarterback, Deion Sanders' son, Shedeur Sanders, obviously a quarterback. Those are 2 of the top picks. The Browns took their whole draft contingency out there. They took Jimmy Haslam, Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry, your boy Paul DePodesta, and obviously I'm sure there was many more people in that contingent. Deion Sanders, I believe, and quoted to Mary Kay Cabot or one of the Browns beat reporters, said they'll take Shedeur or Hunter with that pick. So he firmly believes the Browns are taking either Travis Hunter or Shedeur, or his son Shedeur Sanders with that number 2 pick overall. What say you? So if I told you, and you're on record, we've talked about this before, you're on record, you want Abdul Carter, I believe, with that number 2 pick. So I think it's almost a lock that Cam Ward is going to Tennessee right now, just based on reports. So if we just assume, and you know what happens when you assume,
Yeah.
but let's just assume Cam Ward goes to Tennessee. Let's just take him and the number 1 pick off the board. So let's just say the Browns are picking number 1 overall, but the Titans are out and Cam Ward is out. So the Browns have the draft kind of starts with that. Are they taking the defensive end, who they can pair with Myles Garrett in Abdul Carter? Are they taking the quarterback, which they so desperately need, but they might love him, they might not like him, they might just think kind of he's in the middle? Or do you take the best player, best athlete in this draft, with Travis Hunter, who a guy they'll probably would put at wide receiver that could play defensive back in certain situations? Because if you draft a guy like Travis Hunter, he's got to be there in the wide receiver room, learn the position, because there's so many more things on offense you got to be ready for, whether it's blocking, whether it's checking to an audible, whether it's a quick a hot route, something like that. Whereas a defensive back, if he's thrown in there, and be like, hey, we're playing man, you go cover that guy, something like that. So those are kind of the 3 options. Or the 4th option, I guess, could be you trade back a couple picks and maybe one of those guys is still there. If the Giants hypothetically are like, well, we really like Shedeur Sanders, but we're not sure if the Browns are going to take him, so let's go up to 2, trade him our number 3 pick for, maybe another 2nd or 3rd rounder or something like that. So Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter, Shador Sanders, or trade back. Those are your 4 options on the table right now. You are Andrew Berry. A team calls. You have the decision to make of one of those players, or you trade back in the draft. What are you doing?
It's a long explanation, and I hate the explanation.
No.
So I'm not sold on Shador Sanders. I don't think
Yep,
I
that's
think
fair.
he will.
I think a
I
lot
think
of
he
people
will be
aren't.
an okay quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
But you got a 2nd-round pick, and if you're not going to pick Shador Sanders, you're going to trade back, because I don't want to waste a 2nd pick on an edge or a cornerback or a wide receiver. So I say you give up the 2nd pick, maybe get 2 second-round picks or something like that, something good. And then if you're going to build up the defense, then you can add someone later. And I'd rather get lucky by a later pick than over investing in a Shador Sanders. I'm very uncomfortable.
And that's fair. And I think Shador Sanders, from all the experts, your Todd McShays, your Mel Kipers, all your other draft analysts, there's a bunch of them out there now. It seems to be like Mel Kiper thinks he's the best quarterback in the draft, whereas Todd McShay or other guys are like, well, he could be the number 2 pick, or he could fall maybe down in the teens or the 20s. From everywhere I've seen, he's a consensus like top 20 type player, but no one's sold on him at number 2 except for, maybe a few experts. So my question is, if you think he's good enough to go to the New York Giants at 3, this is some people, but he's not good enough to go 2 to the Browns. That's where I question some of these draft experts, because they're like, well, that would be an overreach for the Browns at 2, but it wouldn't be at 3 for the Giants, or it wouldn't be at 6 for the Raiders. So, or 9 to the, I put up here's the quarterback needy team. So let me just put that up first. So Will Levis is the quarterback right now of the Tennessee Titans. I don't think they love him. I think they think Cam Ward is the guy. They actually canceled a workout with Shador Sanders. So I think that's kind of telling everybody the writing's on the wall. They're taking Cam Ward. So the Browns right now, their starter right now as it stands, Kirk Cousins aside, Joe Flacco aside, if they go out and get one of those guys, would be Kenny Pickett right now. So the Browns are definitely a quarterback needy team. The Giants, number 3. They have both both the Browns and Steelers cast off quarterbacks from last year, Russell Wilson, Jameis Winston, but those guys aren't your long-term answer. They want maybe some short-term success, and then maybe build up a guy. They need a quarterback. Number 6 is Geno Smith. He signed a 3-year deal, but it's one of those deals that's more like a 1 or 2 year deal, and then you can cut him. Derek Carr, he's getting up there in age, and he's kind of faded over the last few years. So I think the Saints are a team. Tua is a good quarterback when healthy, but we obviously know he can go out with injury anytime. Here's a very interesting situation. Now, this is just me putting this on here. Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones, both 2 former first-round picks. Anthony Richardson just 2 years ago, Daniel Jones 5 years ago. But these guys have not made it in the NFL so far. Would they be interested in trading, up? Or if a guy like Shador Sanders falls to number 14, would they dare take him? Maybe for their future. And then the last team on here that I have out of the 8 teams is the Pittsburgh Steelers. They picked number 21 overall. They brought back Mason Rudolph, most punchable face in the league. They have Skylar Thompson as the backup, and that's it right now. That is not a good quarterback situation to be in. It appears Aaron Rodgers and them, by speculation, have some sort of handshake, wink, wink, nudge, nudge type deal. But he is still not signed. So will Aaron Rodgers land in Pittsburgh? I don't know. But those are kind of the quarterback situations. So if you look, on there, a team, if I have Tua and I'm the Miami Dolphins and I have an okay roster, if Tua is healthy, I can compete to get to the playoffs. I'm probably taking the best player available to help me. And then the Colts, if I already have Anthony Richardson, who I invested the 3rd overall pick 2 years ago on, I'm probably not taking a quarterback. So there's a huge gap there from 9 to 21. So that's the reason I put that on there, was if the Browns do want to move up, you're probably going to have to get in front of Pittsburgh if they don't sign Aaron Rodgers. So if they do sign him, I don't know if they're going to take a quarterback, but those are the QB needy teams, in my opinion. So I don't know, but I think the Browns are more. I've flip-flopped on this, and that's not something I normally do. I think the Browns 2 weeks ago, I think dead set I was locked. They're taking Cam Ward or they're taking Shedeur Sanders. That was locked in. Now I'm about 50-50 on that. I think it's either Shedeur Sanders or your guy, Abdul Carter, or Travis Hunter. Those are kind of like the three options for me. So I don't know. I really don't know.
In all honesty, I'm not disappointed if it's any three of those names. We'll get by with it. They're all talented players. I think the upside for me with Shedeur Sanders is the dude does stay in the pocket, and the last quarterback that stood in there. I mean, Shedeur Sanders got sacked a bunch of times too.
He did, but also
he didn't run around and get injured and whatever. So if he could pull a Flacco, he's got accuracy, he's got an arm. Right. If we can keep him in the pocket and protect him, I think he would be a good investment.
Yeah, he is his best skill, I believe, is his accuracy and his anticipation, which is like a CJ Stroud type thing. Now, I don't think he has quite the arm of CJ Stroud, but he's got a good enough arm to get it done. So I did see a graphic. I don't have it with me, but I did see a graphic that the Browns have used the least amount of draft capital on skill position players over the last 5 years. So skill position, wide receiver, running back, tight end. The Browns have drafted the least amount of players, used the least amount of draft capital on those players over the past 5 years than any other NFL team. So to me, I think the defense, you can kind of push the defense out there right now, and the defense would be serviceable. Anytime you got Myles Garrett, you got maybe the best defensive player in the league in Myles Garrett. You have a lockdown cornerback in Denzel Ward. You got Grant Delpit, who's a great safety. Now, are there holes on there? That team, absolutely. You need some defensive end help, maybe some defensive tackle help. If JOK is not healthy,
linebackers,
that's a huge issue if he's not healthy. Now, they have a bunch of pretty good guys there, but without JOK, that leaves a huge hole because we don't know his health situation. But obviously, tight end behind Njoku, who are you going with? And you could use another safety back there. So I'm going to show you some of the players that I think stand out for the Browns possibly to take at the skill positions, and then their other possible needs. So at the skill positions, I'm going to just start with the quarterback, first of all. We obviously know Ward, Sanders. There's Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, which I saw a tweet that was very interesting. It said Jalen Milroe has accepted an invitation to Green Bay. That's where the draft is being held this year, to be on that like first round. You know how they have like the red carpet backstage thing where they show all the players. Jalen Milroe has accepted an invitation to that. So he thinks he's going in the first round, whether that's a team taking him or a team trading back into the first round to come get him. Tyler Shuck, Quinn Ewers, Will Howard, and there's, a handful of other names, but those are kind of the top 7 or 8 guys at quarterback. I think the Browns are going to get one of them. I don't know who, but I think they're going to take one of those players. If we take Cam Ward out of the pictures, Sanders, Dart, Milroe, Shuck, Ewers, and Howard are kind of the next leading candidates. At running back, I don't think the Browns are going to go after Ashton Genty. I think he's going to be a top 10 type player to go, but I think they are going to take at least one running back in this draft, if not 2. A guy that's been getting a lot of buzz is Omarion Hampton out of North Carolina. You obviously have the 2 Ohio State Buckeyes in Quinshon Judkins, Travion Henderson. You got the running back out of Iowa, Caleb Johnson. You got the running back out of Tennessee, Dylan Sampson, out of Kansas, Devin Neal, and you got Cam Skattebo, who made a big time introduction to the world in that Arizona State Texas playoff game, and you got Jordan James there out of Oregon. Now that's just a handful of names. There are about 10 other guys that can really make an impact in this year's draft. The running back class is very deep. Wide receivers. The Browns must take a wide receiver in the first 2 rounds, in my opinion. So here are the wide receivers. I think the Browns, they have to get one of these guys. Travis Hunter, obviously probably the top guy in the draft. McMillan out of Arizona. He is a big, tall, physical receiver. Played on a bad team, but is a really, really good player. Matthew Golden out of Texas. Luther Burden out of Missouri. Emeka Ibuka, the Buckeye, who has always been the number 2 receiver, but he's been the number 2 receiver behind Marvin Harrison Jr. and last year behind Jeremiah Smith in Columbus. Jaden Higgins. Trey Harris. Jaden Higgins and Jalen Noel are both out of Iowa State, and Trey Harris is another guy to look for. So I think the Browns have to come out of the draft with one of those players at wide receiver. So the tight end position is also a spot where I could see the Browns going in the first 3 rounds. I don't think they're going to get the tight end from Penn State. I don't think they're going to get the tight end from Michigan, but I think, they could get another guy that's going to go up towards the top of the first 2-3 rounds, whether it's Arroyo from Miami or whether it's, another guy. I believe Jason Taylor's son from LSU is really good. But the other possible needs I could see the Browns going with: offensive line. I know Joe loves that. Tight end, as I mentioned, defensive end. Now, if you don't take Abdul Carter in the first round, you probably need to get a solid guy that could be a rotational player in the top 3-4 rounds that can, rotate in there and be opposite Myles Garrett, or maybe even be that guy that gives Myles Garrett a breather on the sideline. And then safety was the other position, I think. Now that's a lot of positions: quarterback, running back, wide receiver, O-line, tight end, defensive end. So basically
the whole squad,
pretty much the whole squad.
Trade him in.
But to me, I think the Browns, if they use their first 4 or 5 picks on offense, to me, that's what they got to do. I think.
Right, so I wanted to see what Polymarket said, who they thought Browns' first pick is going to be.
Okay.
What's the money say who their first pick is going to be?
Is can I ask if he plays at the University of Colorado? Yep. Okay. So Polymarket, you want to announce the pick?
Yep. Travis Hunter, 72% of the money says that Travis Hunter will be the first pick, seconded by Abdul Carter with 24%, and then Will Johnson, a corner, 23%.
Will Johnson is out of Michigan, the corner. Good player, but I would take him off the board.
And then Cam Ward had 23% if he's not chosen. Okay.
All right. So, Cam Ward. I think if Cam Ward is there at number 2 for some reason, the Browns are taking him 100%. Sure. If most likely the Titans are going to take him. So I think Travis Hunter is the new
72%. That's a bit. I was expecting it to be a little bit more split, but somebody knows something for sure.
I think so. And I think they came out of Boulder, Colorado this weekend. I know they took both of those guys to dinner somewhere in Boulder, and I think it's going to be one of those Colorado guys that go at number 2 overall if the Browns stay in that spot, unless somebody blows them away with a trade. I think they are probably taking Hunter at number 2. And
Polymarket says that 60% chance Aaron Rodgers is Pittsburgh's quarterback.
Okay. Paul, and so tell me what, I'm not familiar. Tell me what Polymarket is.
So it's basically the stock market for just about anything.
Okay.
You could put odds and gamble on things that are ridiculous and super specific. So if you wanted to float something, when somebody invests or bets on an outcome, it reflects in the value. So I would have to put up $94 to win, $5 kind of thing.
So, but people actually do bet on that.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a live betting app.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Can you bet on political things on that?
Yeah.
Like elections?
It had a better return, like it had a better bead on who was going to win the last election
Okay.
than the polling did.
Interesting. And I mean, follow the money, right?
Exactly.
Follow
right.
the money. And in real betting, usually you fade the public, but it sounds like in that you might want to follow the public.
Exactly.
In that, because
yeah, you're not stacking odds. You're basically saying there's a lot of people that know more than you and I, and if you can cash in on having information, Polymarket's the way to do it.
Okay. All right. That might be an app I might just download and take some of that advice and use it for other gambling sites. So okay.
I do not think the United States is allowed to partake. I do not think. I think it's still, you have to. Well,
so you can just be an observer on that. You can't actually be a live better.
But it's only blocked if the United States sees it's cryptocurrency.
What if I have a VPN?
VPN.
Okay.
Put in the country that it's allowed. Make your Bitcoin bet. Returns to your wallet. No harm, no foul.
This guy from Dubai is killing it.
Killing it.
And he's betting on the Cleveland Browns a lot.
Dubai loves Cleveland Browns.
Deshaun Watson loves it over there too, apparently. Oh boy. All right.